Welcome to another episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Hill. With me, as always, is Austin Wader, and we are back talking college football action, looking at Week 3, and then taking a look, of course, ahead to Week 4 this college football season. And look, we had another good slate of games this weekend and some exciting finishes, um, and maybe, oh, just maybe, a guarantee that came through this weekend from yours truly. Uh, and let's start in that game. Great game, great back and forth action, and a great finish to open up the 11 o'clock slate for college football. And that was Georgia Tech taking down number 12 Clemson. Clemson falls to 1-2 with really three bad games this season. And look, they just could not get it figured out in this one, and Georgia Tech and Haynes King got the job done. And I'm going to steal some words for you that you used a couple weeks ago to describe Haynes King, but to describe this whole Georgia Tech team. Look, I don't know if Georgia Tech's a good football team. I don't know if they're going to be consistently a top 25 team when it's all said and done this year, but they're a bunch of dogs that just go out there and get the job done. Haynes King at the forefront of it, but kind of like he talked about in his post-game interview, it's not just me, it's everybody on this team goes out and battles hard. And I think there's no better example of that than that fire drill walk-off field goal to win this game. I mean, what kind of madman is Brett Key? He practices that at almost every practice, they said. He practices these fire drill, running onto the field goals. And it's just the kind of team that Georgia Tech is. They're so knowledgeable in this like situational football. These weird situations are not weird for Georgia Tech.
No, it was funny. So I saw a clip after the game of the fire drill, but from Brent Key's perspective, you want to know what he's doing the entire time that fire drill's going on? He's like this. Like the
Like he
man's not
knows.
moving. He's like, I shouldn't have to say anything. We practiced this over and over again. And it worked out for him and them to get the field goal attempt off. I just always, it was funny. I saw someone posted talking about if there's people who are like, I don't know if I'll get into college football or I don't know if I like it, show them the last 30 to 45 seconds of that Clemson Georgia Tech game. And I think that would make you into
Absolutely.
a college football fan. It was a great ending. It looked like at points Georgia Tech would run away with it at first, but when they were not converting those red zone trips into touchdowns, it just let Clemson hang around and hang around and hang around. And it felt like Clemson was going to somehow sneak out of there with a win. But then you have the great drive by Georgia Tech to go down the field and score. And then you have the whole fire drill thing late at the end. I remember thinking at first, I was like, man, I don't know what they're going to do here. I know timeouts, 30 seconds, third down. If you get the first down, it's easy. But if you don't, you got to, yeah, they're quick. And like we learned about post game, that's something they had practiced a million times. So
Yeah.
congrats to Georgia Tech there. Clemson, again, I think they'll end up turning around and have a good year. But I think with this loss, we can finally put it to bed, at least for this narrative of college football that we're in right now, of Clemson being a team we think that can compete for a national championship. In this modern era, it just won't happen with Dabo and the way it's done. And it proves it this year. Everyone I've talked to, everyone I've heard said, if they're going to get it done and try to do this new, try to do the opposite of the way that we do in college football now with no transfer portal really, retaining a lot of players, and you still can't do it with these guys this year, it's never going to happen. And it's not like, these guys that they brought back for all these years have been amazing. These like 5-star, like 4-star recruits they're bringing in that they're developing haven't been that good. So it's rough for them. I think they could probably turn around, probably finish 8 wins, maybe 9. But their era of us thinking, could Clemson get back to top college football, I think is over.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that, they're not going to be a year in, year out top five team. I think the committee has kind of fallen on that sword. The AP poll and the College Football Playoff Committee have kind of fallen on that sword the last couple of years of, starting the season with Clemson up at the top, and then kind of bottoming out at the end of the year. We saw that, 2 years ago, they don't make the four-team college football playoff. this past year. They are the last team to get into the college football playoff. So, we're talking about a very real situation where, we see kind of a regression back to the mean for Clemson. And it feels kind of weird because really over the last 12 years since Dabo Swinney's took the helm. I would say at least since 2015, he's had this team relevant as a team we kind of think about that's going to be a competitor. I think his first year he got him to 9 wins. And it's just been hanging around that level. And again, not that they won't get to 9 wins this season, and even 10 wins is still possible if they were to win out their current schedule. But we just have seen this year that this team is not the same kind of competitor. And I just don't personally think we'll see this team win out. I think 8, 9 wins is probably the ceiling for this team.
Yeah.
Some of the matchups they've got left down the road. I just don't know if Klubnik's the guy. I think that's another big thing to me, is that they really kind of have gone in on Cade Klubnik over the last few years. And not really looked to make any sort of alterations to that, even when he struggled. And look, I'll give it this. I think it's good to see there are still coaches in college football that aren't going to give up on you after 1 year, especially when you're such a highly recruited and highly touted guy. And I think that also speaks to the character of Cade Klubnik, a guy you want to keep around and want to keep putting in the starting lineup. But at the same time, when you get to this point in the season and this guy is still not stepping up and making those big plays, we've been talking about since he got on campus, it's a wonder. So, just a lot of things finally kind of crashing down here for this Clemson team. But let's take a look at the 3 o'clock, 3:25 slate, which saw a couple awesome overtime games, which we're going to talk about. And let's start with the one that ended first, Georgia versus Tennessee. This game goes to overtime. It was a really good back and forth game, but I'm going to say this much. I know Joey Aguilar threw the two interceptions in this game. But to me, even until Georgia scored the game-winning touchdown, I almost never felt like Tennessee wasn't in control of this game. There was the little lull in the middle of the game, but once the fourth quarter kind of ramped up, this team took back over. Obviously, missed the game-winning field goal at the end of regulation, which sent us to overtime, and then that's where Georgia kind of locked in again. Credit to Gunnar Stockton, he really locked in the second half. He had a rough first half, but I still felt like Tennessee was the better team overall in this game. And I think, honestly, the Georgia Bulldogs kind of dodged a bullet because I think they should have a loss on their record right now.
Yeah, with the way the fourth quarter went, I kind of felt like, okay, there's no way Tennessee blows this. They go down the field in 4 plays to start the fourth quarter to go up by 5. Then we get the fumble recovery. Then you get the field goal 38-30. And that was probably kind of the moment where Georgia gained some hope. And listen, Gunnar Stockton, we talked about, I had the struggles. Man made some big time throws in this game for Georgia. I give the guy props when it's due. He made some huge throws in this game, Georgia, on that fourth down to score the touchdown, 2-point conversion. My issue with Tennessee was the conservative play. I hate when coaches late in the game, when they get in field goal range, even if it's just on the edge of field goal range, you're like, okay, let's just run it. We're in this field goal range. Sure, you'll make it. No, when in doubt, if you can score a touchdown, do it. Don't try to waste the time down and just hope your kicker makes it. Because, Austin, what do we know about college kickers? We literally know nothing. You have no idea what's going to happen every time they kick the football. And to me, that was the issue. And that was the moment they lost the game to me, was whenever they were trying to be, like, got inside Georgia's 25-yard line. I'm like, all right, 19 seconds. You still have all 3 timeouts. Get more yards. Get this kick as close as you can or score the touchdown. And they just hand off right up the middle, hand off right up the middle. And he leads to him missing the field goal. So, and then you get to overtime. So credit to Georgia. Listen, Tennessee might play well, but you just can't doubt this Georgia team under Kirby. It kind of felt in that from second quarter until second quarter, third quarter, Georgia was the better team. They dominated in the trenches most of that game. So credit to Georgia. It's a big win for them. And they've won now 9 in a row in this series. And like we talked about previewing the game, This is probably the closest these two teams have been since 2015, 2016. So my question now is if Tennessee's not going to beat them now, when are they going to beat them? But Tennessee did have its good moments. I'll tell you this, the problem with them is their offense is so good when it's on schedule because they like to
Yeah.
play up tempo. They like to play up tempo and go quick. But whenever they can't get drives going because of an incompletion or no gain on a run, the offense just kind of stalls out. And that's what happened in parts of this game.
Yeah. My last note on this game is it felt like, especially to start this game, Georgia had watched no film on the Joey Aguilar Tennessee offense. It almost felt like they played defense like they were playing against Nico still. I mean, they just let this guy have pretty much free range to take deep shots to start this game. Like you said, when this offense is on time and on target, they run you up tempo, they take the big chances. And 9 times out of 10, they convert, whether it's a contested ball or just a guy outrunning the DB. This team is exciting. Again, I think, you know, 9 times out of 10, you make that field goal at the end of the game. You celebrate, you win this game, you're 3-0. This is certainly not the last we've seen of this Tennessee team. And I would say, looking at the way these two teams played, it's going to be a tough and kind of grueling SEC schedule. I know that, and there are a lot of great SEC teams. But this is kind of an early matchup that I circle and say we could see these two teams meeting up again in Atlanta for the SEC championship. That's how good both of these teams
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, I think so. Again, this was easily the most. I didn't walk into this game thinking it was going to be the most entertaining game of the day. Yet it was until the obviously later that night we had another game that was just as entertaining. But yeah, I could definitely see it with how chaotic this SEC was last year. I would not be shocked at all.
Then our other overtime game from the same slate, we had Pitt and West Virginia, the backyard brawl. These two teams hate each other with a passion, and it looked like maybe Pitt was going to run, or I won't say run away, but was going to win this game. And then come the fourth quarter, in the second half, it's a bit of a comeback by West Virginia to come out, and then they get the job done in overtime. And Eli Holstein had a good game, but had the turnover, and was just completely flustered in that overtime period where he was kind of controlled by this West Virginia defense. They now moved to 2-1. And man, I like what I've seen out of the West Virginia team in this game. A big time opponent, a team that you think about probably. I know they're not ranked, but you think about probably hanging around in that top 30, top 35 teams if the AP poll were to extend out another 5, 10 teams with this Pitt roster. And they go down in overtime. Big time win for West Virginia, kind of defying the odds as a team that was a 225 betting underdog.
Yeah, credit to Rich Rod. Rich Rodriguez has kind of brought the energy back there. I mean, you saw it in his post game celebration when it came down to that. I mean, he was super fired up for it. Again, the whole talk coming into the game was West Virginia without their starting running back. What's this Rich Rod offense going to look without it? Ty Edwards happened.
Yeah.
Boy, what a game he had running the football for West Virginia. And you pointed out Eli Holstein just at points looked really flustered out there. So
Yeah.
when you're sacked 6 times in a game, that's usually what's going to happen, unfortunately. But huge win for West Virginia.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. Then we had maybe the biggest heartbreaker of the day. South Florida falls 49-12 to Miami. And look, this is a team we've been excited about. They had a great start, and Miami was just ready. Carson Beck turned the ball over 2 times in this game, 2 interceptions. But still, this team just came out and got the job done. And really, the big credit I would give in this game is to the Miami defense that just did not bend, did not break, did not give up anything to this USF offense that's kind of had their way to start this season.
Yeah, Miami, I will just say it like this. In my honest opinion, Miami should be the #1 team in the country right now. They have looked dialed in every single game this year. Credit to them. I, for those of you who don't know, this was my bet of the week. Oh boy. Oh
Yeah.
boy, for South Florida. But the Austin Hill can confirm. Whenever we got done recording last week, I literally said to him, "There's a small part of me that thinks South Florida might get blown out in this game." I can't. Austin can confirm. I said that right after we got done
Yeah.
recording. I was like, "There's a small part of me that thinks that South Florida could get blown out in this game," and sure enough, that's what happened. Now they got down early and had the weather delay, and I was like, "Yes, okay, this is what South Florida needs to lock back in." They never locked back in,
No.
unfortunately. But again, I think this comes to show how good this Miami team is looking. This is probably the best Miami team we have seen since probably those early 2000s Hurricanes, if I'm being quite honest with you. They looked really, really good, incredible here, and just flat out dominated South Florida. Again, the good news for South Florida, number one, I'll say this, they should still be ranked. I don't get why they're not ranked.
Yeah.
Um, the good news though for South Florida is you still have two very impressive wins in non-conference. Now you take care of business in your conference slate, you'll be fine, and you will be that group of five representative. It was going to be a hard ask to win all three of them. Let's just say it like that. Whenever the season started, we're like, maybe they could get two, and they got two. So they can take that. But Miami, again, Miami just looks like a juggernaut. And it's not in the Miami ways like last year, Austin, where it was, Cam Warren, the offense, scoring 50 points. This team has a great offensive line, a great defensive line. They're able to play great defense, which was an issue for them last year. Defense was a major issue. They've resolved that. And Carson Beck is throwing in, slinging it, but they're also having a solid run game with Mark Fletcher, too. So Miami, in my opinion, looks like the best team in college football so far this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And when you look at USF, kind of like you talked about, it's a big ask to win all three, but you win two, and that puts you kind of in the right thing. And hey, pick the best team to lose to, and that's what they did. Of the three teams that they've played, this is the best team
Mm-hmm.
in non-conference they've played so far, and they lost that game. So again, kind of like we talked about with Boise State last year and their one loss to Oregon, who ended up finishing the year as the number one team, and you lost by a walk-off field goal in Eugene. You talk about one of the best losses of the whole season. Obviously, a bit of a bigger margin on the
Mm-hmm.
scoreboard. But still, you kind of look at we played a team that right now, top five. You hope they finish in that top five, top three department. And then you're really talking about yourself, hey, we've got one loss. We've won our conference. We've got one of the best losses you can have. And look at these other non-conference wins that we have. Look at the dominance we had in our conference. So a lot going on and a lot of excitement, I think, for this Miami team or this USF team, even though they did unfortunately fall short in this one. Then a little bit more heartbreak. Doesn't get any easier for us here on this show. Arkansas Razorbacks fall 35-41 to Ole Miss. Two teams whose offenses just traded blows in this game. Both offenses looked extremely exciting. And hats off performance to Trinidad Chambliss filling in for Austin Simmons in this, Austin Simmons in this game, who came in injured after the way last week ended. Kind of tried to play it safe and let Chambliss kind of have the game. Back and forth game, but a heartbreak finish for these heartbreak Hogs. Feels like the classic Sam Pittman finish as Jalen Brown fumbles trying to scurry for extra yards in the red zone instead of just going down and giving the Hogs a chance to get in the end zone.
Yeah, listen, I remember all the Razorback fans were like, "Oh, this Trinidad guy's starting. We got this in the bag." And I did my research before the game. Dude was starting quarterback at Ferris State. Man was starting quarterback on a Division II national championship team last year. Had, I think, over 50 total touchdowns in the season. So I'm like, okay, so this really isn't much better than Austin Simmons. Okay, this is great. So he went out and played exactly how I thought. Arkansas offense is incredible, but Austin, these whole first couple of weeks, I talked about it. I thought the offense was going to be great, but I needed to see this defense play against competent competition for me to get my thoughts on them. And my thoughts were as true as they could be. This defense sucks. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm just not going to sit here and be super nice about. No, the defense sucked. It was not good. Couldn't tackle anybody, save their lives. got Ole Miss to 3rd and 10 many different times and just kept on giving up big play after big play after big play. And look, the Arkansas offense did everything it could to keep up. And, credit late. When Ole Miss made 13 points, in my mind, I was like, there's still plenty of time. We score, get a stop, get the ball back, we score again, we can win this game and somehow sneak out of here. We did the first two parts. We're moving down the field. And Austin, I had it happen to me. I got hope in my mind. Like after
Yep.
we got the stop and we were driving, I was like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna freaking upset Ole Miss, and it's
How
finally
dare
gonna
you?
happen. Then sure enough, we take that screenplay. I think it was first play coming back from a 2-minute timeout, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And I literally fell to my knees as soon as I saw him go down because I saw that ball pop out. I was like, here we are again. And this is what I talked about going into the game. Austin, word for word, I said last week was we lose in a one-score game late, we're having the same conversation. Now here we are. I've heard several different reports determine the severity stat. I got the answer on the one-score game thing, Austin. Uh, it's two different numbers, so I really don't know trust, but I know the wins match. 7
Yeah.
and 20 in one-score games is Sam Pittman. 7 and 20.
That's
Um,
like almost every game.
exactly, exactly. And all the fans, I remember there were some people I had to log off of Twitter, otherwise I would have been in a fight with them. Like, we went toe to toe against against one of the best teams in the SEC. Why aren't you happier? Yeah, let me celebrate us freaking almost beating them. Like I'm gonna celebrate almost beating a good team. No, this Arkansas team is good, but we're sitting here late after the game talking about coaching mistakes. First drive of the game, Austin. Arkansas won the toss and chose to receive. Fine. As long as we go down and score on the opening drive, I'm fine with it. We get to 4th and 2 in Ole Miss territory. Our options are 4th and 2, go for it, or kick a 51-yard field goal with a freshman kicker. And Sam Pittman decides, oh, let's just kick the 51-yarder. It's the first quarter opening drive. You chose to receive it. Now, if you had deferred and then went down and did, then I get that. But you chose to receive, which means in my mind, I'm being aggressive. I'm going down the field. I want a touchdown opening drive to kind of shut these people up. And he doesn't do it. It's very conservative there. It's very conservative, and it's frustrating for Razorback fans because you look at the talent on the team. This offense is incredible. This offense is awesome. The run game was great. Taylon Green was great. Receivers all made a bunch of big plays, and yeah, here we are talking about a one-score loss. This defense needs to get it figured out because they're playing Memphis this weekend on the road, who I'll say it like it is. Memphis has averaged over 200 yards rushing in all their games so far this year. If they want to run the ball, this could be a rough game. I'm just being dead honest with you. But as far as Ole Miss go, I'll give Shambles credit. He was great. And I'll be honest with you, we might have a QB controversy there because he kind of looked better than Austin Simmons has in the early points of the season.
Yeah, and I think for Ole Miss, this kind of puts your mind at ease. Look, I talked about it when we talked about this game. I wasn't really worried about Ole Miss coming into this game. We've seen now we didn't see it in this game for against Arkansas, but we saw against Kentucky. I thought that we had seen a good defense uh, from Ole Miss that was really resistant, and then we had seen a phenomenal running game. So I thought that even if Chambliss had come out and played bad, I thought Ole Miss would still have success. You think of a guy like Kawan Lacey and the season he's had so far. I thought they'd be all right. But yeah, to me, if I'm Lane Kiffin, let's let Austin Simmons take his time. Let's make sure he's 100% before we even think about putting him back on the field because Chambliss is managing, holding tight, and just leading this team right now. I thought they looked phenomenal. I thought they looked awesome. Unfortunately, just a sad story for the Razorbacks. But look, like you said, if the Razorbacks can come out and get a hold of this, come out and win against Memphis next week, you've completely set yourself up. You lost to Ole Miss, a team that's probably going to stay ranked. It's a good team, going to be competitive in the SEC. This is not a bad loss if you can overcome it. But this defense has got to step up, like you said. Let's spin to a well, kind of a stunner in the SEC. Uh, I say kind of a stunner because there was an underlying circumstance that led to
Yeah.
this result. 31-7 victory for Vandy over number 11 or maybe number 10. I don't exactly remember coming into this game. Number 11 South Carolina. Uh, and look, the elephant in the room, obviously Lenore Sellers injured pretty early in this game. Now, I am not going to come out here and say that Vandy didn't deserve this win and they wouldn't have won no matter what, and this is just a lucky win. I'm not going to say that because that is not fair. Vandy did come out and win this game. They are 3-0. I do think it's important to remember that South Carolina is built on Lenore Sellers,
Hmm.
especially this season. No Rocket Sanders. The running game has been a little bit weaker this year as far as running backs. The running back room has been a little bit worse than last year. So you got to consider that at least a little bit. I'm actually kind of upset that the AP poll did not consider that whatsoever when they made the rankings this week. Because if I'm correct, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I believe South Carolina fell out entirely,
Yeah.
which to me doesn't make
There's a
sense.
million problems wrong with this AP poll that we'll get to later, but you go ahead. Go
Agreed.
ahead.
So I just personally think that I don't know how it's really fair. I think, yes, all the credit in the world to Vanderbilt. They got the job done. I think it's a little bit unfair to sit here and say, South Carolina, shame on you for losing to one, a good Vanderbilt team, two, without your best player.
Hmm.
It feels like kind of a senseless punishment. And I haven't heard about Lenore Sellers, whether he'll be, how he's doing, and what it
And they
kind of
got
looks like
another
for
tough
him.
game this weekend. They got another tough game
Yeah,
this weekend against Missouri. So if he's not 100%, that could be two back-to-back losses. That really ruins any chance for South Carolina.
yeah, agreed. And uh, from what I'm seeing right now, uh, I'm not seeing any updates on Lenore
All I know
Sellers.
is that he's questionable because I'm pretty sure I saw he was in concussion protocol. So he's got to get everything cleared before he can officially play. But I will say this: Vanderbilt likes that. Honestly, that's the underlying thing from this game. That being said, Vanderbilt's offense still looked really, really good in this game. That didn't affect
Agreed.
Lenore Sellers on that side. Vanderbilt's offense looked really good in this game. Pavia looked good. They were able to run the ball with all different kinds of guys. Austin, I just want you to picture this right now. So Vandy's 3-0, two wins over Power Four teams. They play Georgia State at home. They play Utah State at home. We could potentially be looking at 5-0 Vandy heading to Alabama on October 4th for the rematch of all rematches. Are you kidding me right now? I need this to happen. I need it to happen
Yeah,
for this game. And if College Game
I
Day doesn't go there, I would be actually disappointed.
yeah, I say get your popcorn ready because that's going to be a great game, especially if Andy comes into that game 5-0.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a slight issue there, but Austin, like you were saying, get your popcorn ready for Vanderbilt and Bama. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Maybe the Bama sleeper cells are trying to infiltrate my computer and stop me from speaking, trying to silence me. But I will not be silenced. Get your popcorn ready. I think this would be a good matchup. And I think this will be a really good test for Alabama to maybe kind of prove yourselves later in the season. I would think that if uh, Vandy is 5-0, I believe they're already ranked right now.
Yeah, they're ranked
Down at the,
20th
yeah,
right now, so
at
they could
20
potentially
right
be
now.
top 15 Vandy coming into
Yeah,
town.
they could be ranked coming into that game, facing off against a ranked Alabama team. And this would be a great test for Alabama to kind of redeem themselves after Thomas Castellanos opened up the season running all over them. Redeem themselves against a Russian quarterback, an offense that really likes to lean into that Russian quarterback and his style of play in Diego Pavia. And again, a chance for Vandy to say, hey, last year was no accident. This is a turning point in this program and it could be another big marquee win for Colin Ray in his short time here at Vandy and everything he's done.
Yeah, I mean what Clark Lee's done there has been amazing. But like talking about those two games on the schedule, let's not forget Georgia State beat Vandy last year. Let's not forget that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping they come into it 5-0, but I need them to win these two games because they're also playing Utah State, coached now by Bronco Mendenhall, who's one of the best coaches in the entire country. So these are two games where I think Vandy should win, but I'm like, make sure you get it done. But if they get it done, oh man. And I mean, we talked about all the talking that Pavia did this offseason about all talking Bama did, this and that. Oh my goodness. I mean, it would be, as the people say, cinema if they did face off.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you said, I think game day has to go to Tuscaloosa
They
if
have.
these
If
two
this is
are
a top 15 matchup, you have to go.
agreed. When's the next time you're going to get to see Alabama and Vandy ranked in a matchup going into one of the premier college football environments in Tuscaloosa?
And they wouldn't even have to make up storylines for this. The storylines are already there. We know what the
Yeah,
storyline is for this. It's not like they would even have to try to create storylines.
yeah, the story was written last year in Nashville. So it would be an absolute blast. But our final game we're going to talk about from last week, the ultimate heartbreak, the ultimate throwing up all night because you're so sick at everything that happened over the course of the game. Texas A&M defeats Notre Dame 41-40. Uh, and some hijinks on the last few sequences of the game had my stomach in a blender. I almost threw up about 1,000 times in the last 3 minutes of this game. Absolutely heartbreaking. But look, I'll come out and just preface this by saying Texas A&M was the better team on Saturday night. I'm not going to come out here and make excuses. Uh, Honestly, when Notre Dame scored that touchdown with 3 minutes and some change left, I thought, wow, we've gotten extremely lucky to be in the lead in this game. Jeremiah Love played phenomenal. Jadarian Price played phenomenal. Um, but the Notre Dame defense has played sloppy in its first two games this year. CJ Carr has played like a freshman quarterback through the first two games of this year. We've really seen a lot of his talent. There were points that I was kind of hoping we'd bring in Kenny Michi to kind of ground this offense, but it's so hard when CJ Carr comes out and throws those seeds over the middle of the field to Eli Raridan for 20 plus yards. And you see the true talent and potential that this youngster has. But he's got to get to the point. He's got to grow up faster if he wants to keep Notre Dame relevant, and if he wants to keep himself in the driver's seat for this team. He's got to grow up faster. His decision making is still not quite there, and it's not even just the throwing decisions that he makes, but it's about getting rid of the ball or getting up and getting out of the pocket. He takes too many sacks, gets hit too many times. Um, I like Mike Denbrock's offense that he called in this game. Got Jeremiah Love a lot more involved. Jeremiah Love, massive impact why we were in this game for as long as we were. Um, but this game was not entirely lost on a mishandled hold at the end of the game. Though that's the easy way to point your finger. And I still think Tyler Buckner should no longer be with the team. Let's go ahead and let him go. Look, 2 years ago we went to Alabama to follow Tommy Rees. Awesome for you. You kind of sucked at Notre Dame. And then he came back last year to play lacrosse, and Marcus Freeman brought him in as like an emergency quarterback just to be on the team. He knows the team a little bit, would be comfortable, and then he ended up being a really good holder. But look, he's like a fifth or sixth year senior. Let's let this guy walk, especially after that kind of blunder. I don't want to have to see Tyler Buckner's face. I have not wanted to see Tyler Buckner in a Notre Dame uniform for a long time. But it's not entirely his fault. A&M was better. Marcel Reed was awesome. Man, this this Texas A&M team is going to be a threat in this SEC. The defense is phenomenal. The offense is phenomenal. Two fantastic wide receivers, Mario Craver and Concepcion, are fantastic. Le'Veon Moss, 3 rushing touchdowns. He was a beast. And Marcel Reed, look, he had the interception earlier in the game, but on that last drive at the end of the game, when it felt like the pressure was on, he looked surgical. I am excited to see what this Texas A&M team does the rest of the year.
Yeah, I will just say like this, for I'll get it out of the way with Notre Dame. This seems like the kind of year where you just kind of have to deal your lumps with the freshman QB. If you really believe he can be your future at the quarterback position, take your lumps this year and look at next year as a year where it's like, okay, now we're ready to get back. If that's what you truly believe, if you truly believe, hey, we should be a national championship contender, then I might look differently with the quarterback position, kind of like you said. But let me say this: the offense really wasn't the issue. The defense was the issue. It's I know Al Golden left to go be this Bengals defensive coordinator, but I didn't expect the fall off to be this quick for this Notre Dame defense. The pass rush really isn't there. They struggled stopping the run, and but they have one really great corner out there in their secondary. Besides that, it really wasn't a lot of plays there for the Notre Dame defense. That's what really surprised me. Now, that being said, if this Texas A&M offense is as explosive as it looked on Saturday night with this game, oh my gosh, like you said, wow, they have potential. This is the most optimistic you'll see me about Texas A&M in a long time, because if this defense can play like the level we're capable of under Mike Elko, and you look at that schedule for an SEC schedule, it is not entirely difficult. Of course, you got to play Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas. You're at LSU. That is probably going to be your toughest matchup in the regular season until Texas at the end of the year. So I think there's a real chance if this offense can be as explosive as it looked on Saturday night, man, they got a real shot. They got a really good shot this year.
Yeah, look, I don't really love Texas A&M, not a fan. But look, I fell in love with Marcel Reed last year. The guy is awesome. He's fun. He's entertaining to watch. And so, if anybody's really going to break my heart and kill me at the last second, I'm glad it was Marcel Reed. Uh, but let's go ahead and take a look at the AP poll. Some pretty seismic changes. Like we talked about, we had several teams kind of drop out of this AP poll after their performances last year, and some new faces, or from last week, I should say, not last year, and some new faces dropping in this week. But let's kick it off with the top five. Not too much has changed. One team drops out, one team jumps in. Um, but at number one, still Ohio State. Number two, Penn State. Number three, still LSU. And then at four, we have Miami moving up one. And then at five, we have Georgia moving up one. I'll go ahead and round out the top 10 here. At number six, we've got Oregon, who dropped down two spots after a little bit of so-so performance against Northwestern. Florida State up three spots to seven. Texas down a spot after a pretty bad showing against UTEP. Illinois stays firm at nine. And at number 10, we've got A&M jumping up six spots after a big win over the number 8 Irish. Thoughts on this top 10?
I said this much. If the AP poll is gonna give credit to teams for what they've done during the season so far this year, I'll be honest with you. Ohio State shouldn't be number one. I think Penn State should be dropping back. Because I'll be honest with you, Penn State has not looked that good so far this year. LSU's offense is struggling. They can barely crack 20 points against anybody. Miami looks like the best team in college football so far this season, which I did not come into the year thinking that was even possible. But in
I
my
agree.
opinion, that's what it should be right now with Miami at the top. I'll be honest with you, Texas should be way lower. I'm just gonna say it. Either Arch is injured, or the people that hyped him up should be fired from ever doing media of any level ever again. Because I'm just gonna say, and I mean no way am I being trying to be mean to Arch or the Manning family. Arch sucks. Like he has not looked good. It looks like he's in pain every time he's throwing the ball. There's no zip on the ball when he throws it. None of that. So I'll be honest with you, they are not a top 10 team. They should not be a top 10 team at this point. And similar to that point, no disrespect to Illinois. Obviously, we're going to see them get tested against Indiana this weekend. But I mean, what have they done to justify being in the top 10? I mean, they beat Duke. Okay. In my personal opinion, Texas A&M should be higher up than those two teams, respectfully. I don't get why Oregon fell 2 spots. Why do they have to drop for Georgia and Miami to move up when we should be moving down Penn State, LSU, and Ohio State? So there's a whole different things they could do to kind of switch it up in that top 10, at least in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of change that could be made. I'm with you. I think I personally I get what you're saying with Ohio State and Penn State, and I do think there should be a little bit of a change at the top. I agree. I think Miami so far looks like the best team in the country. But I do like a little bit of a punishment for Oregon here. Um, I think, it still was a decent win on the scoreboard, but look, the box score doesn't show what happened in this game. It just was not the kind of performance we expected from the Oregon team we've seen so far this season, especially playing against a Northwestern team who, no disrespect to Northwestern, I don't think anybody exactly saw hanging around with Oregon this
That's fair.
weekend. Um, but I do agree there's a lot more that could be done. I think Texas A&M should probably be the highest or the second highest ranked SEC team right now. Maybe Georgia is the best SEC team right now. But yeah, I mean they A&M looks better than Texas and they look better than LSU right now. And I think you can make the same argument for Georgia. So kind of interesting decisions there uh, from the AP poll. But look, the decisions just get worse. And there's a team sitting at 24 who I don't believe should be sitting at 24. We'll talk about in just a minute. At number 11, we've got Oklahoma. At number 12, we've got Iowa State. At number 13, we've got Ole Miss. Number 14, we've got Alabama. And staying firm at number 15, we've got Tennessee. I will say, kind of with this spot, I like these teams that are kind of hanging around here. I kind of wish Oklahoma was somewhere in this top 10. I also think they look a little bit better than some of the teams we see in the top 10 right now. But I do like that Tennessee isn't punished again. That most of the time, a team kicking that field goal at the end of the game is going to win that game. Um, they they put Georgia to their limits. I think holding them firm at 15 shows what we believe this team is capable of doing, and kind of something the AP poll has done a lot early in the season, and maybe this is to influence kind of with this new super conferences and stuff to encourage like early season competition, whether it's in conference or out of conference plays. They haven't really been too harsh on teams for losing in ranked matchups. And not to say that I think Tennessee should have fallen out. And I actually, again, do like that Tennessee stays at 15. But again, when we get to talking about Notre Dame here in a minute, there are some teams that are kind of benefiting maybe a little bit too much from playing a difficult start to the season. I get not punishing teams for trying to go out and play entertaining football games and be a competitive team. But I think when we talk about some teams going 0-2 in those matchups, it's maybe okay to say, hey, you can take a little bit of a break from the top 25.
Yeah, 11
Thoughts on
through
11 through
15.
15?
Yeah, 11 through 15, I don't have really many issues with. The only one, I guess, if I had to nitpick on one, would maybe be Oklahoma. Again, I personally think that. But the good news is Oklahoma will take care of business when they play Texas, because I tell you what, when Oklahoma and Texas play in a couple weeks, I think Oklahoma might annihilate Texas. They might destroy Texas when they play. So that'll take care of itself. So really, I have no issues. Like I said, I thought Tennessee played good. So leaving them at 15 is more than fine with me. I really have no issues with 11 through 15.
Then at 16, a team you had your eye on this season, Utah, just keeps on creeping up. They look like they're going to be a problem this year. At number 17, we've got Texas Tech, another team that's just been creeping and creeping and creeping all year. Georgia Tech bursts onto the scene. When was the last time Georgia Tech was ranked and Clemson wasn't? I'd like to know
I
that.
know this is the first time Georgia Tech's been ranked since 2015, 2016, I think. I don't
So
know
it's got
about
to
the
be
last time they were ranked and Clemson wasn't. Uh, maybe like 20, they like the 2010, 2009, somewhere in that area, I would have to
I was
guess.
thinking like 2007 or 2008, maybe. somewhere around there, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe. So
yeah. Okay, so this Georgia Tech's highest ranking since 2015. So this is the highest Georgia Tech's been ranked in 10 years.
that's incredible, what they're doing there. At 19, we've got Indiana, who's been hanging around in the rankings, and at number 20, Vanderbilt, another team that kind of bursts onto the scene. Thoughts on 16 through 20?
Well, let me just say, Austin, I have another step for you. So, Austin, this is the highest Vanderbilt has that been ranked since 2008. So the optimism's high there. But also, here's you another stat. This is the first time that Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt are ranked in the same AP poll in the same week since 1984.
I figured it was going to start with a 19. Uh, I was
So
going to say, just no way
uh,
in my lifetime those teams have been ranked
yeah,
together.
it feels weird having them. Now I will say this. Um, when it comes to again, if we're looking at body of work so far this year, they should be up higher than some of these other teams. Georgia Tech has multiple wins over Power Four teams. Vanderbilt has multiple wins over Power Four teams. On two wins against Power Four teams on the road, I should add specifically there. So I think that really, it kind of feels like the AP poll was like, okay, they won. We have to put them in. 20, 18 Georgia Tech. Sure, we'll go with it. We'll go with that. That's what it kind of feels like they did there. Because in all honesty, Georgia Tech should have already been ranked. Vanderbilt really should have been on the cusp of being ranked as well. So I mainly have issue with Georgia Tech, not as much as Vandy when it comes to this, because I think Georgia Tech should have been ranked, and I think Georgia Tech should be honestly up there with around like 12, 13. I personally think they should be up higher than that at least. Um, but Utah and Texas Tech, man, I tell you what, this is my favorite game in the slate this Saturday. I can't wait to see these two teams play because they're two teams that I have looked at and we talked about in the preseason. They're like they could be the Big 12 crashers so far. It looks like they could be, but neither have really played elite competition. So now they're going to play each other, and we'll get to find out truly what these teams look like against the competition in the Big 12. I can't wait for it. I hate that it's at noon. Frick, big noon kickoff. Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst. But to round out our top 25, at number 21, we've got Michigan. 22, we've got Auburn. 23, we've got Missouri. 24, we've got Notre Dame. And 25, we've got USC. Look, I don't know how you defend Notre Dame at 24. I can't, and I'm a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
South Florida falls out for one loss against a top five team. A team that Notre Dame has also lost to. Uh, South Carolina falls out after losing their starting quarterback in a game to Vanderbilt, who's now ranked. Um, I don't know. Make it make sense. Clemson falls out, but they're 1-2. They still have won a game this season though. I really don't. I don't know how you make. I just don't know how it's fair. Uh, I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I don't think we should be in the rankings. We are 0-2. We have look. I get you don't want to punish a team for playing ranked tough games, but they lost both of them. They lost both of them, and they didn't look like the better team in either game. It wasn't a fluke or a mistake that cost Notre Dame the game. They were just the worst team. Put BYU in here, put USF in here, put South Florida in here, well, put Tulane in here. Uh, Notre Dame 0-2, two ranked losses. One of those games is at home. You got to do something else. I think it's inexcusable, indefensible. Notre Dame should have to earn their spot back in the top 25. I mean, theoretically, we could just hang around the rest of the year in the top 25 and not really have to earn our way back because the toughest part of our schedule has been played.
Exactly. That was my thing here, and I'm glad you're in agreement with me. Because I'll be honest, if someone's like, well, no, I was like, why should if I look at someone's like, why should Notre Dame be ranked? It's like, well, they play tough game. Okay, did they win any of them? Did they win
They
either one
didn't.
of them? The last time a team was 0-2 and was ranked was 1988 with Michigan. That is the last time an 0-2 team has ever been ranked. And I remember all the people saying, well, you know, uh, that the rest of their schedule's easy. Saying, hey, right, exactly. So they could go win 10 in a row at the end of the year. We don't know if they will. We don't know if Notre Dame's going to win the rest of their games. We don't know that for sure. But the way this makes it treated like is, oh, Notre Dame can win 10 in a row to end the year. And then we're having this discussion at the end of the year about Notre Dame at like 14 or 13 about whether they should get in or not. And it's going to lead to an ugly conversation. It's going to lead to something ugly happening with this. I'll be honest with you. You talked about some of the teams. I'll tell you this. Why the hell is Arizona State not ranked still? I seriously want to know how
Agreed.
Arizona State is not ranked. They lost to a much improved and talented SEC opponent on the road in a last second touchdown. And they went from 12 to unranked. I don't get it. I don't get how they're unranked. I don't get how South Carolina's not ranked. I don't get how South Florida's not ranked. No disrespect to Auburn, Missouri, Notre Dame, USC, and honestly, even Michigan. None of y'all should be ranked. I don't think, in my honest opinion.
I agree.
It should be BYU, South Florida, South Carolina, and Arizona State in there. Those are the teams I would put in there because I thought that they have looked as the better teams as a whole this year. I seriously don't get it with this. But no, in no world with any team, and I even be saying this if I was a Razorback fan, in no world should a team that starts the season 0-2 be ranked. It's just
Yep.
it should not be a thing.
I'm saying it as a Notre Dame fan. It's inexcusable. It's disgusting. It's wrong. We have not played like a top 25 team. You cannot convince me. I sent a text after we scored the touchdown to go up in this game and said we do not deserve to win this game. We weren't the better team. We haven't been the better team. We're not getting cheated by officials. It's not some last second fluke or a Hail Mary. We're getting beat by teams that are better than us. And at I mean, if Notre Dame goes 0-12, are we going to say, well, they played some ranked teams and they just didn't go their way?
Right, right.
And they still hang around at 25? It doesn't make any sense. It's wrong and it cheats teams that a list of teams we both just named that should be sitting at 24, 25 maybe,
Well,
and be ranked and
and
a much
walk with
better
me on
conference.
this and hear me. And this is something I've just thought about. I nominate that we get rid of preseason AP poll. We don't rank any teams through the first month of the season, September. And then when October comes around, that's when the AP poll comes out. Because I get the whole point of the preseason poll. The only main point of a preseason poll is to just get talking points going into the year. That is the only reason for a preseason poll, if anything. You want to know how I know? We literally did a part of our season preview where we talked about the preseason poll rankings. So it's
Yep,
literally meant to be a talking point. So to me, I think you should wipe out the AP poll until October. Once it gets to the end of September, because by the end of September this year, teams will have played 3 or 4 games. We'll get a feel for what teams are good and what teams are bad. And then you drop rankings. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, what do you know what the best games are? If you follow the sport, you know what the best games are. If you're truly dedicated to the sport, you know what the best
agreed.
games are. That's just my kind of like hypothetical.
Yeah, I think we currently live in a world where we'll never see that happen, unfortunately, because the AP polls lost so much relevance with the college football playoff rankings, which come out not too long after the 1st of October. That they just try to fight and stay because they like having their numbers next to the team's name as long as possible because eventually that gets overruled by the college football
Right.
playoff committee. So I would agree with you though. I think at the very least get rid of the preseason ranking
Right.
and let's rank teams after everybody's played a game.
I
And
mean,
then
it
maybe we
prevents
can
these
have
whole ugly conversations of Florida State as a top 10 team last year, where they're preseason top 10 and they go 2-10, where you have other teams like in the top 10 that have just dropped completely out of the polls already. You
I
got to
mean
see games get played.
my question is And I think this is how you should really look at it every time you're ranking these teams in the top 25. If you did not have a rankings in front of you from what these teams were ranked last week or the beginning of the season, whatever, if you didn't have any knowledge of where Notre Dame had been ranked over the last 3 weeks coming into this game or coming into making your AP poll, and you just had to look at their games, could you look at them and say that they are a top 25 team? And the answer to that question is no.
Mhm.
It's just not. Um, but look, we've been lingering on the AP poll topic here for a minute, um, and I think we're both in agreement on the issues with it. But let's move on and talk about some other pressing news. Virginia Tech and UCLA, look, they do something that feels kind of unheard of in the new transfer portal era, firing coaches at the end of September. And look, 30-day window is now opened up for all Virginia Tech and UCLA players to enter and transfer in the transfer portal. Look, we saw a couple of years ago Michigan keeping around Mel Tucker explicitly so this didn't happen in the middle of the season. They lost, they losing players. So, um, first off, just kind of give me your thoughts on coaches being fired, and then we'll have a little another conversation about the transfer portal and maybe what players do and don't do.
Well, first thoughts for Brent Pry, Virginia Tech. I'll be honest with you. I was not surprised. I knew he was
No,
fired the second that game happened on Saturday because I said on another show going in, I wouldn't be shocked if Old Dominion won. It kind of felt like with that game, like the way the Arkansas Western Kentucky game was back in like 2018, 2019, where you have a group of five team come in and just dominate you. They just dominate you. It wasn't even close with it. And all the people who are talking about, let's talk about this. Since Frank Beamer retired, no one has been able to do the job. And everyone's talking about Virginia Tech, such a big job. It'd be great for college football. This, that. Are we sure that Frank Beamer just not was an amazing coach? Because he had
yeah,
them as a consistent 10-win team over so many years. Um, so I don't know exactly what they look to bring in for that next head coach. They have the fan base passion. They have the
they do.
players and everything for it. It's just they just got to get the right man in charge. I thought they had the right man in charge, and Justin Fuente and just had some very rough years um, when it came down to it. And for UCLA, I'll be honest with Deshaun Foster. I don't really blame him in this scenario. That's a no-win scenario for any coach going to UCLA. They do not care about football at that university. Fans, number one, the stadium they play in is like an hour away from campus. So students aren't going to go out there and travel an hour away. You're not going to have the administration care because they're focused on all their money into basketball. So it's a situation where I'll be honest with you, I don't know what coach would want that job at UCLA. I really don't know what coach would want that job.
You know what's crazy? Is Chip Kelly should still be the head coach and Dante Moore should still be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But they decided 2 years ago that being
Yeah.
how many games did they win that year? Eight, 7, 8 games, nine
I
games?
think so. And the crowds, guess what? Even then, which is a prime example, even then, no one was showing up to games. Again, that's the whole issue
Yeah,
here. You got to get closer to campus. Do you think college students, number one, let's say this, college students are at the campus? If they're at the campus for that, they want to be at the events. That should be right by campus. Razorback Stadium, right in the middle of campus. It should be in the heart of campus with your stadium or a 5 minute freaking walk or drive. It should not be an hour drive out of our way to go watch you play. That's already just a fiasco in itself right there.
yeah. Now my big question here is, look, and you look at these teams. Like I said, these guys have 30 days. You want to hit the portal and go somewhere else? This is your chance. Um, look, that kind of the two big names you think about when you think about these teams are at quarterback, Kyron Drones, and Nico. And when you look at these guys, do you think there's any chance either of these guys uh hops into the portal, tries to find somewhere else to play, tries to make something happen here in the middle of the season?
Well, as far as I know, I looked up the rules because I was curious. Once they do transfer if they do that in the season, they can't play for that team in the season. So
Gotcha.
So as far as because I was genuinely curious, like you, I was genuinely curious. But here's something else to consider with this, Austin. The red shirts. These teams have only played 3 games. So if you're a player who has your red shirt available, you could go in the portal with your red shirt and basically act like this year didn't happen and go somewhere and play, and basically do this year over again at another place. So I think that's just a major factor, and is that red shirts that go along with it. Um, but this situation for Nico, I mean, you talk about Nico's situation just gets worse and worse and worse every single day for him. And now you've got this situation here with Kyron Drones. I'm curious exactly what his future holds out. Because I'll be on, no disrespect to Kyron Drones. There's a couple schools I think he could start at. I don't know if he's the elite level of QB that's going to get you somewhere. And not to be mean to him. I hope I'm wrong and he can prove to me like next year or something. But I don't know. So I'm curious to see what they do. Because like I talked about, the crazy thing with the transfer portal thing is the roster can literally be gone. You have coaches, the interim coach is still trying to get a roster together for the final 9 games of the season. And you're having
Yeah.
guys being like, hey, I'm gone. Hope you weren't planning to start me this week against Washington. You hope you weren't planning to start me this week against Georgia Tech because I'm out of here. So I feel bad for these coaching staffs that are going to have to go through that. But I'll say it like it is with these coaches in these universities. You put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, you know the rules coming into it. Like I said, Michigan State a few years ago was a prime example. Held on to Mel Tucker throughout the entire season just so they didn't have to worry about guys leaving and who they were going to field on roster. It was already a lost season anyway. Just let it be lost. And at least that way you have a football team. My thought process was I'm glad you know the rules and you came with the rules because my thought process was why would South Carolina not look to go ahead and field a Kyron Drones or a Nico just in case? Hey,
Like,
let's let
hey, if
when
Lenore Sellers out long term, we got a good backup option here. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, why would a team who may be or Notre Dame, hey, CJ Carr having a rough start. Kenny Michi, we don't really think he's better than CJ Carr. Let's go out and get a veteran and maybe Kyron Drones and throw him out there and see what happens. So interesting. Didn't realize that they couldn't play, but still could be a big get. And again, this is probably the best chance Nico. I think this is the best chance Nico has right now to walk away. I think right now, 3 games into the season, a lot of teams would be willing to say, "Hey, you know what? It was a bad situation. Coach fired after 3 games. We'll give you a chance." I think you go through this whole season like this though, and you might be stuck at UCLA for the rest of your
Well,
career.
and here's something else that's crazy, Austin. I looked it up. UCLA has not started classes yet. They don't start classes until
Really?
the 26th of September. So not only do you have guys that could leave, you could have guys that could leave before classes are even going.
Jeez.
Which to
Making
me
the
that could
schedules
make more of
ahead.
a motive for a player to leave. Be like, well, I'm not going to be missing any schoolwork. If I can stay in the portal and go to the
Yeah,
next year.
I haven't even started schoolwork yet. Yeah, that's crazy.
I know it's insane.
But look, that's a chat. We'll see. Kind of keep tabs on it, and if anything crazy happens with the transfer portal, we'll be talking about it. But let's take it to our teams and our players of the week. Go ahead and kick us off with the top 5 teams of the week.
So number 5, I've got Old Dominion here. Just going out and just flat out beating the crap out of Virginia Tech. Absolutely destroyed them on their home field. They were kind of my sleeper team in the Sun Belt this year, so I like seeing them kind of have that success. Number 4, West Virginia. Look, if you win the backyard brawl, you deserve to be ranked in this. The backyard brawl is a great tradition. Unfortunately, it won't be played until 2029 again, but once it starts in 2029, they're going to play it through 2036. So it's going to be
Nice.
around for a while on a consistent basis. So I'm happy with that. Number 3, I got Georgia. Kirby's teams don't know how to quit. They are such gritty teams. They know how to get it done, and it's a tough and great performance for them to get the win on the road there. Number 2 is Texas A&M. Again, I thought, like you said, I thought they kind of outplayed Notre Dame. And if this offense is as explosive as it looks in this game, Oh boy. But number one, hey, listen, you gave me my credit whenever I got my guarantee right about South Florida being in Florida. I'm gonna give you what it is. Georgia Tech, number one. Uh, again, kind of similar to what we talked about with Castellanos. If you're gonna talk your talk, you better walk the walk. And they did it for you, Austin. So I had to put them as my number one team there.
Yeah, absolute blast, and glad to see what Georgia Tech did. Look, at number five, I went with the Georgia Bulldogs here. Uh, look, I think again near the end of this game, they got a little bit outclassed, and in most situations they would have lost this game. But that missed field goal breathes new life into them. The defense comes out, forces them to a field goal, and then they come out and they punch it in the end zone to win this game on the road. Like you said, they've got no quit in them. That's why Georgia's ranked here at number four. I'm with you, West Virginia. Look, you win a classic rivalry like this in pretty awesome fashion in overtime. Defense looked incredible. Gonna get a hats off from me there. Then at number three, I went with Texas A&M. Look, outclassed Notre Dame, looked like the better team. Absolutely getting the job done. That's my number three team. At number two, I went with Miami. Look, even with the two turnovers from Carson Beck, this team still found a way to blow this game wide open. And the difference between this team last year, or this team this year, and the team last year is the defense. The defense is so much better in Miami right now. Like you said, it kind of brings back shades of those early 2000s Miami teams with kind of this gritty physical defense that's just not giving anything up. Yeah, they're going to be a tough team to beat. But at number one, obviously, Georgia Tech, team full of dogs. This team goes out, beats number 12, Clemson, puts themselves kind of in a category of their own right now in this ACC, starting to make themselves a team to beat here in the ACC if you want to have any success. The Yellow Jackets are looking good to start the season. But on social media, look, Georgia Tech wins all but one poll, and Texas A&M wins that poll. And you know what that means? You win three polls, you win as the number one team for both of us here. You're going to be the team of the week. And so the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they are the team of the week this week, and in a big week where some may have guaranteed them to upset the Tigers, they get the job done. They're our team of the week here.
Gotta love it for them. Again, love the scene. And hey, I talked about it in the season preview. There were two games this year I looked at where they wouldn't be favored. They won one of those. So I'll be dead honest with you. I expect it. I don't know if they will do it. I expect Georgia Tech to maybe be 11 and 0 heading into that matchup against Georgia at the end of the year. They will probably be favored in every game up to that point.
They look that good right now. They're playing that good right now. This is a tough team to stop, and they could definitely be one of those two teams playing in the ACC championship at the end of the year with how well they've played. But now let's take us to your top five players of the week.
So, my top five players week. Number five, I had Jamal Jarrett from USC. Listen, there's nothing I love more in life than a thick six. 300 plus pound defensive tackle with a 60 plus yard interception return for a touchdown. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love that? Who does not love seeing that on their television? Had to get him in there. Number four, I had Drew Mestermaker. North Texas absolutely destroyed Washington State this weekend. I believe 59-10 was the final in that game. And Mestermaker was 24-28, 211 yards, four touchdowns, zero interceptions. The man had the same amount of incompletions as touchdown passes. Not bad. Dominated Washington, so I had to give him credit there. Number three, I had Ty Edwards from West Virginia. I can talk about this guy. This is a situation in West Virginia. I remember people were saying, yeah, their star running back's out for the year. Man, what are they going to do in this game against Pitt? He goes out and they give him 25 carries. He balls out and helps lead them to a great win. Number two, I got Ahmad Hardy from Missouri. Now, normally I would not put a Missouri Tiger on a list. As you all know, my wonderful affiliation with Missouri. But when you have 250 yards rushing and three touchdowns in a game, it's hard for me to ignore that. So I'm just being honest with you. Had a great performance against Louisiana. But number one to me, Mario Craver from Texas A&M. That man is going to be a problem for teams in the SEC this year. Such an explosive player, made a ton of big catches, over 200 yards in the game for A&M. Just was a problem for that Notre Dame defense. and absolutely balled out in the game. So I look forward to seeing what he does. Man averaged 29 yards a reception. So every time it felt like he was catching the ball, it felt like it was a big play for that Texas A&M offense.
Yeah, absolutely unstoppable. At number five, look, I had to go with everybody's favorite dog, Haynes King. Look, another awesome performance. Puts his team on top, and they get a big time win. At number four, I went with Deshaun Spears, safety from LSU. Look, this guy had two picks in a DJ Lagway pick party, and one of those picks he took back for a touchdown. Had to give hats off to an all-around awesome defensive performance to LSU that Deshaun Spears was at the forefront of. At number three, I went with Mario Craver. Look, this guy was awesome. Like you said, big play after big play after big play. It was really a toss-up between him and Le'Veon Moss. I didn't want to put two Aggies on the list, but Le'Veon Moss had the three touchdowns. But a lot of Craver's big receptions set up those touchdowns for Le'Veon Moss, so I thought I'd put him on the list here. At number two, I went with Ty Edwards. Like you said, awesome performance, three rushing touchdowns, 141 yards, just putting the team on his back and a really gritty performance for a West Virginia team that really wanted to run the ball between the tackles in this game. And then at number one, I went with Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss. Look, it was a pretty good game on the stat sheet, but the thing pushing this up to number one is kind of coming off the bench, being the game time decision to be the starting quarterback, and in truly an awesome offensive game for both teams, coming out and outdoing the Arkansas Razorbacks kind of as a last minute decision was a pretty awesome performance that I liked a lot. Uh, but look, our polls were pretty undecided for Player of the Week. On Instagram, both of our polls had a tie with Ty Edwards and Mario Craver. And then one of our polls on Twitter had that same tie
Oh my
between Ty Edwards
gosh.
and Mario Craver. So it comes down to one poll where only one of them won. And so by that logic, one of them's edging out the other just by the slimmest of margins. But our Player of the Week, Ty Edwards from West Virginia,
Wow.
wins a solo poll, and that was enough to get the job done and be our player of the week for week three.
So if it would have been a split on that poll, would it have just been a tie between the two of them?
It would have been a 1 point win for Mario Craver because he's number one on yours and number three on mine, and Ty Edwards is number two on mine
Wow.
and number three on yours. So it would have been a 1 point win for Craver had the poll
Wow.
gone the other way.
Hey, again, I give credit to Ty Edwards. Again, he came into a situation where all people were talking about with West Virginia this week was, oh my gosh, they're starting running backs out. They just lost to Ohio. What's the point of even trying to win against Pitt? And Ty Edwards is like, don't worry, we'll be fine. I got this. And he helped them get the big win. So I'm happy for him. I still have no idea who's going to be our player of the year at this point still. And I'm so happy about it. I legit have no idea.
Yeah, it's a bit of a toss-up. I think at some point this week, I'm going to start doing the math. I'm going to leave it as a surprise at the end of the year, like I always do. But I think I'm going to sit down and start looking at it because, like you said, we've had a lot of change up, a lot of different names, and so far no Ashton Genties have pushed themselves out there yet to be kind of our lead player right now. So it's going to be a lot to think about, but uh, awesome performances this week, and look, just goes again to show that the fan votes do matter. That's what the difference was in this one. Fan votes kind of trumped our votes today. Um, but let's get into some of our game previews here. And I want to start off by looking at Syracuse versus Clemson coming up this week. Look, Syracuse kind of has had some bounce back games over the last couple of weeks and looking like they might be starting to find a little bit of momentum. And Clemson, look, has had three, I'm going to say it, three bad games. They beat Troy, scored 27 unanswered, but even that game started bad. Can they start to settle down, kind of refocus themselves, and remain relevant in this ACC, even with a 1-2 start? Thoughts on this matchup?
It really just comes down to this Clemson offense. Again, this is a Clemson offense I keep on being told is going to be amazing. It's going to run through the ACC and they're going to dominate college football. And I don't know if they will. We're going to find out on Saturday. I think they, if they want to. This was the thing Clemson did last year. They lost these games to good teams, but they dominated against teams that they were supposed to be. We'll see if that trend continues here pretty much, but it will come down to that Clemson offense. Pretty much to summarize, Syracuse can slow them down. It gives them a chance, but if they can't stop them, it might be a long day for the Orange.
Agreed. Our next game we're looking at one of two games that's on here that I think should be a ranked matchup, but instead it's not because of the way the AP poll laid out this week. Tulane versus Ole Miss. And look, Tulane has been off to an awesome start. Jake Retzliff coming in from BYU has been an absolute force for Tulane. And this was the season we expected him to have, but we expected to be having it for the Cougars
BYU, yeah.
and not for the Green Wave here. But they're having an awesome start, trying to remain pretty relevant. And look, a Tulane USF clash uh, in the American looks kind of inevitable right now with the way these two teams are playing. But they're going to be facing off against an Ole Miss team. Like we said, we don't really know what the status is in Austin Simmons. Do they let Chambliss play another game because he played so well last week? Is there a quarterback competition? A lot of stuff to think about for this Ole Miss team. But what I'm really thinking about with Ole Miss is, can the defense kind of refocus? They got carved up by Taylor Green last week, who's had a
Hmm.
really good season to start the year. And they were a lot better against Kentucky than they played against Arkansas. So can they kind of get back into that frame of mind and limit Tulane and win this game, or can Tulane come out and stun the Rebels? I believe in Oxford.
Man, if this was at Tulane, I would be tempted because unlike the year whenever Tulane hosted Ole Miss and that was a top 25 matchup, they have like a true veteran quarterback that can compete with
Yeah,
the best of the best. And a Retzlaff, he can help them win. The only issue for them is it's in Oxford. That is the only issue with this. If this is a Tulane, you'd see me with like a gavel and say I'll be hammering Tulane plus 11. That'd be my bet of the week if it was at Tulane. But with it being in Oxford, I'm not sure. I think you'll probably see Ole Miss end up going with the Chambliss again to me, just because I thought the offense looked at its best with him doing it. The big thing though, they struggled really. I guess you could say getting Lacey going. Lacey, I think, was dealing with an injury during that Arkansas game, if I remember correctly. So if they can get
yeah.
him going in this game, they might be able to run away with it being at home. But if they can get Lacey going, then they got a good chance. But with a veteran QB like Tulane has, I'm not ruling them out of this game at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think this is going to be an awesome, exciting matchup to watch all the way through. Should be a top 25 game, but it's not. Another game I think should be top 25, but it's not. We've got South Carolina and Mizzou facing off, and this is a chance for South Carolina to kind of refocus uh, and kind of reestablish themselves in this top 25. I mean, we're talking about they were the number 11 team last week, and they lose without their starting quarterback. And it's the end of the world. All of a sudden, South Carolina is a no good team, and they never deserved to be ranked to begin with. It's kind of what the AP poll is acting like. This is a chance to kind of prove yourself and refocus against a Mizzou team that really, I think their offense looks awesome. I'll be honest, but kind of unproven with a lot of their competition thus far this season. Now a chance in an SEC matchup to come out and get a big win. And then also the question you got to think about South Carolina in this game: will Lenore Sellers play? I did a little research while we've been recording this episode. Shane Beamer is extremely confident that we will see Lenore Sellers this weekend, but he
Okay.
hasn't said for sure. He says, I think. He's extremely optimistic. He says, I think we'll see him, but that's no 100%.
All
No,
right.
he is starting just yet, but it looks pretty good that he'll be there. But will he play? And if he does play, will he be back to Lenore Sellers? Will they go with the same old, or will they take it a little bit easy and a little bit more passive, uh, just to try and keep him a little bit healthier?
See, and this was my issue with South Carolina going into the year. I wanted to root for them to be good, but this offense is all Lenore Sellers. And if they have to kind of be, like play it safe with him in this game on the road in Missouri, I really don't like their chances to beat Mizzou in this game. Their defense might give them a shot, but if this Missouri running game is as good as it has looked through 3 games, oh boy, this could get ugly. Because again, I think Lenore Sellers is awesome. He's an amazing athlete, super talented. But if he's carrying the entire offense and he's coming off concussion and isn't really fully back in the game into fully like 100% action, I have my doubts for South Carolina going into this game.
Yeah, with you there. Now let's get into our game picks. We got three top 25 matchups this week, and we're going to talk about them all right here. Look, first off, we've got a matchup between number 9 Illinois and number 19 Indiana. Look, this is a chance for both of these teams early in the season, pretty unproven. And you talk about Indiana last year, I believe their only two ranked games were losses, Ohio
Yep.
State and Notre Dame. So this year, get a big time test against a top 10 team to face off and try and get a prove it win early in the season and show, hey, we're not just the easy win kings here that are going to carry us to another college football playoff. We're going to do a little bit more to back that up. And for Illinois, again, I feel like they kind of came in the season. Everybody was a little bit stunned that they were 12, and they've just been slowly creeping up with the way everybody else is flipping and flying from the top of the AP poll to the bottom, and then from the bottom to the top. And they've just kind of been slowly moving up. They sit at 9 now. First real test to show what this team's capable of, even though the offense with Luke Altmaier has looked awesome to start the season. Now a chance to prove themselves in Big Ten play.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, this is where College Game Day should have gone. I don't know why they decided to go to Florida and Miami. I really don't know. My personal opinion, they just really hate the Big Ten, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like. But this game's intriguing for both sides. Two offenses that I think are both very, very good. I think this could be maybe a high-scoring affair with both these teams. But I have my questions for both sides. Neither team has really, like I talked about, played really a strong opponent yet. I mean, the closest one you can say is maybe Duke for Illinois. And even that game, I mean, they blew them out. It was clear they were the better team in that game. So I really don't know. This is a tricky one. I, uh, with it being a night game, I'm going to go with Indiana, but I'm really hesitant on either side. I think this will probably be the best. This, in my opinion, will probably be the second best game of the day, behind one that we're obviously going to talk about in a few minutes. But I'll go Indiana because they're at home. That's really the only thing that's a decider to me because these teams are really even in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a really close game, a really fun game. Like you said, it's going to be one of the better games we see this weekend. But I'm going to lean with the Illini. Look, Brett Bielema coaches some good defenses. This defense was good last year. Obviously, they haven't been super tested this year, but they look good. I expect them to come out and play good, and I expect that to be the difference in this game. As weird as that is to say, I think the Illinois defense makes the play in this game that decides this game. Uh, our next game we've got the Red Raiders of Texas Tech taking on the Utes of Utah. And look, Texas Tech, a team that started the season ranked and has slowly been rising. Utah doing the same, but they started outside the top 25 and they have been impressive. It feels good to be able to cheer for and root for a good Utah team because this is a program that me and you over the last few years have had a ton of joy talking about and watching be kind of a consistent force in college football, even though we don't really think of them as a consistent team. This is a team that went to what, the last two of the
Three,
last three
two of the last three, something along those lines. Yeah, two of the last three.
Pac-12 championships. They were an absolute force. Uh, so it's going to be fun to watch them. And Texas Tech has absolutely capitalized in the NIL era. I think this is going to be one of the teams in the next 10 to 15 years that is at the top of the college football world, the way they've invested early and they've started building great teams. Texas Tech, Utah, who do you got?
Well, this is big for both teams because as of right now, there's no more ranked matchups for either of these teams so far through that. So you can judge that with all you want to for that. But again, I hate big noon kickoff because if this is 7 p.m. in Utah at night, Utah might blow Texas Tech out. But it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. These offenses have looked pretty good. Both quarterbacks have looked good. Baron Morton's looked really good for Texas Tech. Devon Dampier's been good. I'm going to give the edge to Utah mainly because I think, number one, I think they have the more explosive offense in the matchup. I think Devon Dampier can do it in so many different ways to win the game for them. I'm going to give them the edge. Plus, again, we know what Utah will bring defensively. They've always had the good defense. It's just, can they get an offense that can win them games? They might have with Devon Dampier in them. This is easily the game I'm looking forward to the most on Saturday, but I'm going to roll with Utah to win at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you in this one. I like Utah to win this game. Like you said, a more explosive offense, a really good defense, and I think a more experienced team. You got a lot of guys on this team that are used to winning, used to being consistent at the top of the college football world with the Utah Utes. With Texas Tech, I think they're building a good team. I think they're going to be good for the next decade. I still think they're on the way up right now, though. Think a lot less experience from these guys. They're on the way up, but they're not quite there yet. I'm going to go with Utah on this one. And the final game pick from this week, we've got number 22 Auburn taking on number 11 Oklahoma in Norman. Who do you got in this one?
I easily have the Sooners in this game. It's not that I don't trust Auburn. It's just I want to see Auburn play an elite team before we get to it. I thought Baylor was a good win for them, but we've seen what that Baylor defense is. The offense for Baylor is great, but the defense,
Yeah.
not as much there. So when they play an elite defense in Oklahoma, I want to see what they can do. But until I see it, I'm going to roll with the better quarterback option in the matchup and the better defense in the matchup, which is Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, I'll also make it short and sweet. I think Oklahoma's the better team in this game right now. Like you said, just really unproven from Auburn. We haven't seen a whole bunch. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. They might hang in this game, they might not. We just haven't seen it. We know what we've got in OU. Last ranked matchup against Michigan, they beat the brakes off Michigan. I don't think it'll be exactly that bad, but this game's in Norman. They're the better team with the better defense. I don't think this game will be particularly close.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Could not agree more.
with all that being said, let's get into our bet of the week, everybody's favorite segment. Look, I finally on the board. I guaranteed it. Georgia Tech money line. Put the mortgage on it. Trevor Renfro, hopefully you took my advice and you made a bunch of money because Georgia Tech over Clemson gets me on the board. But waiter, what do you got? What do you got for us this week?
I'm trying to bounce back from that disaster effort after a 3-0 start. Just had that happen is just, oh, vey.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go with whenever I saw the board this week, I'm just going back to my folks. When I look at the board, what's the first one that pops out of my mind? First one that pops out of my mind, Miami -7.5 against Florida. Miami is going to kill Florida on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They are going to destroy them. All they got to do is win by 8 points or more. They will do that in this game. Pure and simple. Miami is going to destroy Florida on Saturday night and will probably be Billy Napier's last game before he is fired that Sunday morning. I'll be dead honest with you.
Yeah, in that game, I'm expecting to see a similar DJ Lagway performance to as his game against LSU. I think 3, 4, 5 interceptions probably on the table against this Miami defense. But with my bet of the week, I'm gonna go something a little more fun, a little more exciting. A game I'm gonna be kind of excited to watch. I think it's gonna be really fun, and it's two teams that have been pretty decent to start the season so far, and they're going off in a pretty early season matchup that's going to set the tone for both of these teams. I like the over in TCU SMU. Right now it's set at 63 and a
Ooh,
half. I like over 63 and a half. I think these are two really fun offenses that are going to have an absolute shootout to kick off our Saturday morning.
yes. Oh, I love that pick. That is an awesome pick. I love that pick. That is one where I agree with you. That is a matchup screaming for a 55-52 kind of game. It feels like that might be what we see in that game on Saturday. I love that pick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be high scoring. Wouldn't be surprised if these two teams go to a few overtimes to help us get there. This is going to be a fun matchup between those two squads. But look, with all that being said, that's going to do it for us here at the Bold Take Podcast. We'll have an NFL episode coming out in just a few days.
A lot of news.
Lots,
A lot of
lots,
news has come out.
yeah, lots of stuff going on in the NFL. You don't want to miss it. Some of us are having worse starts than others, but we've got to get through it and we've got to move past it. With all that being said, that's Austin Waiter. I'm Austin Hill, and we want to thank you for listening.